try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Two Middle-Aged Guys Trying to Work It All Out. I'm Chris, and with me, as always, is my good friend...
Dave.
Yes, Dave is here. We are together. We are, in fact, two middle-aged guys. There is no false advertising on the title of our podcast. How's it going, Dave?
You know what? It's 2026. You know, we're in the new year. Feeling good about it. The day we're recording is our first day of like real winter weather. I know we have a kind of a no weather rule, but I think we could mention that Snowmageddon is upon us. And I did try to get out this morning, and I don't understand that. Like, it's like, oh, it's bad, don't get out. Well, I'm going to go test the roads. Well, no, that's a stupid idea. And I did it, and I got stuck a couple times, and but I did get some strawberries, so that was critically important. Strawberries, hot cocoa, and donuts. We would not have made it through this weekend without it. But no,
I was worried about your strawberry count.
Yeah, so how was your strawberry situation?
I've got plenty. I was prepared with my strawberries.
Okay, now I really should have thought ahead, but all right. No, doing great. 2026. We're doing this, folks. Another year, another season of tea magnificence.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's a T-shirt right there.
Yes. And today, Chris, I would like for you guys to indulge me in a story. I think at this point, this is a saga. This is an epic. You know, it's just gone on for a while. And I'd like to add another component to my broad story, my broad history of, having trouble with retail outlets, and maybe retail outlets not being so welcoming to me. And then more specifically, the recent issues that I've had with a specific organization that we'll just call it Temu. We'll just keep it simple. If you know, you know. So, quick recap for those that don't know: I was banned from a Bose store once, back when Bose used to have outlets, because I had too many returns. Chris and I were banned from a pawn shop at one point because we were trading video games. Completely still don't understand to this day. I'd like to go visit who I would like to call Joe the pawn shop guy and just say, hey man, what was up with that? We were threatened to be banned from a comic book baseball card store many times because we didn't bring enough money with us, but my brother was friends with the owner, so it never actually happened. But it was always sort of Damocles' sword hanging over us. And more recently, I have had trouble with Temu, and I was banned from a specific video game shop. I would try to order things from this shop, and they would not allow me. And they would say, when I would ask questions, they would say, no sale to you. Kind of like that. It sounded like the Soup Nazi. No sale to you. Too many returns. I mean, that was it. It was very terse. I would imagine it was from a macro that they had. And so finally, I just gave up. I complained to Temu. I'm like, hey, man, I only returned one thing. And Temu was like, well, our sellers can. I said, whatever. So anyways, in December, the new Metroid came out. And I had been saving up Temu credits and a very good 20% off Temu coupon for just the right thing. And they happened to have the new Metroid Prime 4 for Switch 1 on sale for $50. At a couple different stores, somewhere between $50 and $52. And I had enough credit and coupons, it would be $0. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know. I've not heard great things about this game, but I'm going to get it at the very least. It's good trade fodder. So I ordered it, and, it went. Couple days have passed, orders preparing. Your order has been canceled. I was like, no explanation. I'll try it again, same store. Same thing, couple days. Your order has been canceled. All right. So I reach out to the company that's selling it, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. We were told this order's coming, but not to prepare it yet. When the payment has gone through, it would prepare. And they're like, then Temu canceled it. So we didn't cancel it. Try again. We'll send it to you. So I tried it again. Same exact thing. reached out to Temu. They said, hey, yeah, sometimes we'll cancel orders if there is suspicious activity on your account. And also do a better job managing your account by having fewer returns and improving your Temu credit score by leaving more reviews, which I'd never leave reviews on Temu. It'd be like, well, half of them would say broken or did not arrive or wrong site. I said, don't bother. So then I decided to order from a different shop that was selling it for a couple bucks. Different shop, same exact experience. Reached out, the shop was very nice. It was a U.S. based shop in all these instances because I wanted to get it sooner. Said the same thing. Yeah, Temu said the order's coming, don't ship yet, and then they canceled. They said payment didn't go through, which the payment did go through. Money actually left my account and then came back in, or credit left my account and came back in. Did some research on this, and it's not exactly personal, but basically on Reddit, you can look. Temu is very likely to cancel orders if you use a good, healthy coupon, which I had a 20% coupon, if you are buying something that is of a certain expense level and that is desirable, hot, selling, and they can sell it without using a coupon or store credit, you're more likely. So I did break it up into buying two other things that I wanted, two Switch games from the same stores that I was actually trying to buy from before. They were just less expensive, and I did use my coupon on them, and both of the orders went through. So it was, really a specific thing, but Temu's got it out for me. Still, I know all the facts that the coupon and all that. I do believe genuinely, folks, Temu's got it out for you. So here's what my tip for you is. Don't return everything you order from there. And that seems to be like 90% of the stuff I'm returning because it's not, I order a t-shirt that's extra large and it comes in and it's like, a toddler shirt. It's a onesie. It's got the snaps over the
toddler's extra large. That's what like, you're missing here.
Well, yeah, or maybe like a preemie extra large. Like if you had a really, really tiny baby, but this is like the largest variety of tiny baby. That's maybe that's the moral of the story. I don't know. The other moral may just be, Temu's a crapshoot. You're going to get what you get, especially if you're using store credit and coupons. But I got some stuff that I actually ended up keeping neither of the things and sold one of them on Facebook for a pretty good chunk of change because it was a desirable item. And then the other one I used to trade for another Switch game that I really wanted to help fill out my collection. So I did just fine, but I never got the Metroid game. But after all the reviews and all the stuff, I don't think it's for me anyways. It doesn't seem to be. Metroid 4 doesn't seem to be getting that hot, especially on Switch 1, where you don't get to use like the mouse mode or any of the graphical effects. So that's my Temu story. Chris, may I ask, Metroid 4, did you play it yet?
I have not. No, I have not played it yet. I am behind on my Metroid Prime backlog. I've only played the first Metroid Prime, and it feels weird to jump from 1 to 4, so I have not played it. But I do want to backtrack and approach something from this Temu story that has me concerned. Do I need to worry about my Temu credit score now? If I try to get a home loan, are they going to check my Temu credit score?
So that I picked up on that because they did use the word your Temu credit, like not as in like gosh, I'm thinking like a social credit type thing. Like maybe if you're familiar with like ESG or the Chinese social credit system, I mean, it is a thing, right? Like your behaviors influence a score. And so yes, I think you do need to worry about that. I mean, you go in, you want to buy, you go into your local Temu car dealership, you want to buy the new Toyota, which is like a Toyota, but it's a Toyota. It's very similar. Yeah. Toyota guts, let's say that. But it's a Toyota. It's got the Toyota badging. But you get rejected. Like, sir, your finances are fine, but you didn't leave a review on this Dixie Cup dispenser. It was $2.99. So, sir, we just can't do business with you. Get out of our Toyota dealership.
Okay, well, when Temu takes over the world, I'm going to be in a lot of pain. My Temu credit is not what it needs to be.
Have you done any Temu at all?
Not a single
Okay,
thing.
so
So
you're
I'm
actually
even
a blank
I'm
slate.
worse
Ooh.
than you.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
I have
man. I got a
I
rep.
have 0 I feel like they would be more happy with someone that they're not happy with than someone who's never interacted with them. Like, that seems like the worst possible team of credit.
I guess my thought is they've already probably attempted to steal my identity, saw it wasn't worth it, and have tossed me aside. But you're fresh meat,
Yeah,
buddy. You should get in
that's
there, get
true.
your Dixie cup dispenser, or suspensor if you want to suspend them. That's even cooler. I would love to have my Dixie cups float to me. I say I've used the term Dixie cup a lot. Have you used a Dixie cup in the last 20 years for anything? I mean, maybe at the dentist's office.
Not even there. No,
Yeah.
it's been a very, very long time since I've touched a Dixie cup.
If we have a listener out there named Dixie who has like a nice set of like glass cups, maybe some McDonald's Garfield cups, that wants to write in and say, "Hey guys, my idea of a Dixie cup are these collectible Garfield ones from 1989 from McDonald's. They're
We would love to feature you on the show.
yeah,
Come
sure,
on.
they're
Yeah.
rife with lead." And they cannot be touched. You have to be gloved in order to touch them. But Dixie, we'd love to hear from you and about your cups.
Yeah.
What you are witnessing is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in a California municipal court. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their court cases and have their dispute settled here in our forum, the People's Court.
Shall we talk about today's topic, Dave?
I
You
thought
wanna
that was it.
transition? Oh, no, the
Oh,
Temu story
boy.
was not the full topic. No, we've got other things to talk about. And what we are talking about today is guilty pleasures, which I think whenever you say that phrase, the audience probably has an idea of, well, okay, I know what they're going to get into, right? Guilty pleasures. But I want to kind of set the stage here. I want to define what a guilty pleasure is in my mind, and then I want to explain where this topic came from.
Now, this is not about booze or chocolate, right? I think we
It
could
is
probably, because those are the first, because when I was telling my wife what you're going to talk about, she's like, well, I mean, that's obviously what came to her mind, right? But that's not, just because for whatever reason, commercial society, guilty pleasure for a chocolate ice cream or a chocolate booze or a frozen drink. It's all around in that sort of,
Sure.
yeah. That's not
Yeah,
what we're
but-
talking about. We do that
No, we're-
publicly. We eat
Chocolate and-
just
yeah.
hunks of chocolate from
Yeah, people
direct
have
from the
come up to
Hershey's
me.
factory.
Yeah, they're like, "Sir, please stop eating your chocolate here." And I'm
it's
like, "It is my
off-putting.
right. It is my right to eat chocolate here."
You didn't even
anyway.
unwrap it. You have foil in your mouth, sir. I know it's delicious.
Guilty pleasures for us, obviously, it's a pop culture spin on that idea of guilty pleasure. And these are things that maybe we're the only people in the world who likes this thing. And even though we've talked about it before, like everyone around us is like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about, or I absolutely hate that, it's garbage, like that kind of thing. Or things that are just like demonstrably bad, but we love them. And the thing that I want to point out today to our listeners is there is no shame in the guilty pleasure. Like, it is totally okay to like the things that you like. We're not shaming anyone. We're not bullying anyone. These are just the three things from each of us that have just created a wonderful place in our brains that bring pleasure and that we enjoy them regardless of the perceived quality of these things.
And it can also be, Chris, something that maybe is just fine, maybe the perceived quality, maybe it's popular, but for whatever reason, people don't associate to you. They're like, oh, that doesn't seem like you. So that's
Excellent
another
point.
kind of like facet of guilty pleasure.
Mhm.
That's not really me, but I still like it. And people don't know, so I don't really talk about it. But
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So we've got all these things, and where the idea for this topic came from is the new trailer for the Masters of the Universe movie dropped earlier this week. And like all new trailers, I watched it. I was curious. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll watch your trailer to, prove it to me. Prove me that I need to go see this movie. And I watched the trailer, and I have to say, I'm not a massive Masters of the Universe fan. I watched the cartoon as a kid. I had some of the toys, but it was never like, it was not a Ninja Turtle where it took over my life for several years of it. The He-Man was not to that level. So the trailer looked interesting. The story does not interest me at all. It's an origin story of He-Man. his parents from Eternia sent him to Earth. It's like, I already saw Superman. Why do I need to watch this again? So that part does not interest me at all. But visually, I was kind of blown away by this trailer, which is not something that I could say about a lot of movies. I'm kind of jaded. It's like, I've seen all your special effects. I know your tricks. Not interested. But this one looks visually stunning.
Looks great.
And especially the Skeletor reveal in the trailer was just jaw-dropping. I mean, he looks tremendously good. And that got me thinking that even though I'm not a He-Man fan, I genuinely and unironically love the Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe movie. And that, Dave, is my first guilty pleasure that I'm bringing to the show, is that ridiculous late 80s, low budget action sci-fi movie with Courtney Cox's first theatrical role as an actress. And it is a strange, ridiculous movie. I'm sure you've seen it, right, Dave?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And by the way, folks, the gavel, I hope that you guys all hear the gavel going down like the mentally, as Chris is we're all saying, you are guilty. Bang, bang. You, sir, are guilty of having this pleasure.
Yes, I acknowledge that, and I understand that I am admitting to the world at large that basically the pop culture equivalent of like I'm a heroin addict. That's the where we are. So, what do you generally think of the Masters of the Universe movie, the Dolph Lundgren version?
So I think more about the trivia related to the film and Canon Studios and what was going to be the follow-up than I do the film itself. I'll say a few things about it that I did really enjoy He-Man as a kid. I had so He-Man toys. I had a great Castle Grayskull. Castle Grayskull, I believe, was a birthday gift, and I had a few others that were gifts from like a couple surgeries that I had, and then I got a lot of garage sale stuff because back in the day you get lots of good toys at garage sales, and I had I probably had 8 or 9 He-Man figures and Grayskull. So I liked He-Man. I watched the cartoon. I remember being really disappointed with the movie because it wasn't like the cartoon, really. I don't know. I did not. It was something that I saw once as a kid and only revisited in clips as an adult and did not have much interest. Frank Langella is a great actor who somehow played Skeletor, which is in a Golden Globus canon film, like cheesiness production. Very strange how they got him into their stable of actors, how they got him in this role, just kind of mind-blowing. But, specific memories of it, my most specific memory about the film itself is what it didn't do, which it didn't feel to me anything like the cartoon, other than Dolph Lundgren did really look like He-Man. I mean, because he is a monster of a man, and built like a superhero. But gosh, I don't have a lot of memories. I will say that I did see the new trailer and I'm like, that looks kind of cool. And that looks like the cartoon. Yeah. That looks like the movie that I wanted when I was a kid.
It's the movie everyone wanted when they were a kid. And you were right to point out that the Dolph Lundgren version does not look like the cartoon because due to legal contractual reasons, they could not use images from the cartoon.
I did not know that.
They had, absolutely. Yeah. They had to design their own costumes. They had to design their own creature looks. They had to do their own take on Skeletor. They could not legally make it look like
Skeletor really didn't look bad. That was probably the coolest looking part in the movie.
I mean, for that era and for that level of special effects, he looked fantastic, and Frank Langella was great. And from articles that I've read, I think Frank Langella actually was like kind of into the movie. Like he was like, "This is cool. I don't get to play this kind of fantasy villain." So it's kind of but that's what honestly appealed to me when I saw the movie originally when it was released. Is that I'm not getting the cartoon. which I already admitted I was not a super huge fan of, I'm getting like this kind of fresh take outlook on it, and it felt at the time like kind of a more serious approach to the material, and I really dug it. And the movie has kind of a feel of like the Never-Ending Story or the
Mm-hmm.
Dark Crystal or like those types of movies. Like it really plays to that kind of thing where there's a lot of creature effects, there's this fantasy element, and everyone like takes their role. I don't want to say seriously because it's not that kind of role, but they they take the they treat the movie well, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, nobody's winking to the camera, nobody's trying to just phone in a performance. Like people are there to do
They're
their best to
earnest
make a
in their
decent movie.
performance, right? They're actually,
Exactly.
giving
Yeah.
it their all. They're not like, oh boy, I'm here, yeah, the
Yeah,
Golden
exactly.
Globus guys have called me. I'm on the hook for this. And
Exactly. So it's I don't know. I think it's a charming movie. I like it. I have seen it more times than I'm going to admit on this podcast. So this is not like a rose-colored glasses nostalgia play. Like I kind of like this movie. I think it's
interesting.
really fun.
Now I'm thinking about revisiting it.
Yeah.
More for this conversation than anything to do with the new film, because I know that they're going to be so different, because the new film is supposed to be more cartoon centered, and the other one was obviously not. So, but this conversation is
Yeah.
going to making me interested. Um,
I would love to have you watch it now and
yeah,
report back, and either be like, "Oh, I kind of see your point," or be like, "You're absolutely crazy. I can't believe you watched this movie." So, another interesting point to bring out about Masters of the Universe in general. I mean, this was the era where it was the toy first, and then they created the cartoon to sell
right.
the toys.
Yes.
So, one thing I do like about He-Man is how hodgepodge it is. Like, there's kind of no through line to the design of the characters or to the story or anything. I mean, you've got He-Man with his sword, and then you've got a tiger that can talk,
Yep.
and then you've got a Beast Man, and then you've got a skeleton for the villain, and then you've got, I mean,
You
like
got
it's
robot
just
type
it's
characters, like a
yeah,
mix of
it's
magic
just
and
crazy.
technology, and
Yeah,
then you've got
which I do
man of
think is kind of
arms,
fun. And
yeah, squat football player looking dude. Yeah, wasn't there one that was like covered in moss? Was it called Moss Man or something?
I don't, yeah,
Yeah,
something. I mean,
yeah.
but it's all over the map. And I think that's something that the trailer for the new film captured very well. Like, I'm excited to see a just bizarre, off the chain rendition of this fantasy mixed with sci-fi. Like, I think that could be really, really cool.
Well, would you like a little Masters of the Universe trivia? You may know these things,
Of
but
course.
our listeners might not. I mean, unless they're cracking the books on the history of canon films. The Masters of the Universe was going to have a sequel, but for financial reasons, they did not get to make one. So the sets and things that were going to be used for that, or reused from the original Masters of the Universe, ended up being sets for the film Cyborg. So Jean-Claude Van Damme's Cyborg reused the sets, swords, locations, costuming. And if you watch it, I would assume if you watched it back to back, and yes, I have recently watched Cyborg, that you would pick up on things that where, oh, hey, that weapon was there and that location is there. They filmed under that dirty bridge, or that old rundown overpass, which is also where Van Damme was living at the time, in between Bloodsport and Kickboxer. But no, that was the sequel did not come to fruition, but they wasted nothing, because those Canon guys were pretty clever in their making films, and they reused what they could for one of my personal guilty pleasures, not on this list, but truly a guilty pleasure for me, is the film Cyborg. So
Yeah, it was one of those things when I was a kid. I kept waiting for the sequel because you've got that reveal at the end where you find out Skeletor is not dead. I was like, oh, I love this movie. I
yeah,
can't wait to see the next
I
one. And then
vaguely
it just
remember that.
never,
Yeah.
yeah, it
It
just
didn't
never
do like
materialized. So
He-Man will be back, and it didn't do that sort of James
no,
Bond or Buckaroo
it
Banzai type thing.
No, so at the end of the movie, Skeletor gets like thrown into, a lake of fire or something like that.
As you
And at the
would
end of
with a
the
bad guy.
yeah,
Sure.
of course. And then at the end you see like his head rise up out of it, and you see his
His
eyes,
eyes.
and then it blacks out. Yeah. So I mean, clever, cute little approach to teasing a sequel back in a day where that did not happen every frippin' movie that you
Sure, they
go see
weren't
in the theaters.
thinking franchise
Yeah.
universe building
Yeah.
terms. It
So
was
so anytime you saw like that kind of a footnote in a movie back then, it was like clever and unexpected and really novel.
Yep. James Bond was the only one who did it like with regularity because of the level of confidence and the Broccoli's commitment to it. Also, the incredible amount of source material that Fleming had left. I mean, it was really easy to do that, but to see it in other places was special.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also felt like a promise. Like we're gonna get it. They wouldn't do that if we didn't get it. But sorry, you got Cyborg instead, kids, which is an awesome film.
All right. So your first guilty pleasure out of the gate, Dave.
All right. So, boy, there was a period of time where the zombie genre really exploded, and there's a couple of things I think that happened. That you had 28 Days Later by Danny Boyle, which was a not truly a zombie film, but was a big deal and really kind of brought some energy to it. Then you also had you had Dawn of the Dead, which was Zack Snyder's directorial debut. And it was also written by James Gunn. I don't know, but it was a
Oh, I didn't know
remake.
that.
Yeah, it was. It was a remake of the George Romero's classic Dawn of the Dead, and these sort of revitalized the zombie genre in film. But while that was also going on around this time, Max Brooks, the son of Mel Brooks, had written a book, and I don't know if it started out. I don't know the whole history of it. But it was a World War Z, which was like a tale of multiple tales, reflections of a zombie war and how humanity overcome that, and very personalized views of how different individuals in different locations and different cultures and societies overcame a zombie apocalypse, and it was treated like serious work of fiction, right? I mean, I think it won some awards, and it was kind of a big deal. And I had heard of it, and I had seen it and others in the genre. I love it when I mispronounce the word genre. I haven't done that one in a while. In this genre in bookstores, that's interesting, but I don't know. Not a huge zombie guy. I did watch the movies, but it had become just part of the zeitgeist, the zombie stuff. And one of the fellas that I worked with was like, "You should read that, man. This is a good book. You will like this book." I'm like, "Huh." So I did. I read World War Z, the book, and then I read Day by Day Armageddon, which is another zombie book, which is excellent, outstanding, which is told in a journaling type format, which is really, really well done. And World War Z is just okay, I think, now in reflection. But Day by Day Armageddon was actually a very well done piece of. He was an amateur who wrote it, and then actually got it published. It was a really solid book. And then I started reading other series. The Arisen series, which was Zombies versus Special Forces, which is actually started out, pretty good, right? They're page turners. It's not like excellent literature. It's not causing you to reflect on your life and society and the meaning of things and why there's something rather than nothing. Not those kind of books, but just interesting, action-packed books. And then before I knew it, I was a regular reader, but I was reading almost exclusively in the zombie book genre. Like I read a series about truckers versus zombies, not joking, about how Iran had poisoned all the pork products in America to turn Americans into zombies, and it was just super weird, and it had a stand-in character for different politicians, and I was like, oh, this is deeply weird, but I still read it because it was actually kind of interesting. And before I know it, it was like calculating back, I probably read 40 or 50 books in this genre. And if I went through on my Kindle, they're all on my Kindle or on my account. For the most part, some of them were just through Unlimited, and I not sure that I would have access to them still. But I read a ton of these books and a ton of series. And the One Arisen series that I read, that series alone, the mainline series and the offshoots and stuff, and I finally stopped because I got so burned out and the book quality, dropped off. But there was probably 17 or 18, maybe even 20 in that one series alone. And these are not, short books. These are, these are 300-400 page books a pop for the most part. And so I really this was a guilty pleasure. And like my wife is like, why are you reading this stuff? And eventually I did burn out, but I also started to have really bad nightmares, like really bad nightmares. Like I would wake up and I remember one time I told my wife, we got to turn on the news. It's happened in Russia and it might be spreading here in Moscow. She's like, what are you talking about? It's like the zombie virus. And she had to calm me down. She actually turned on the news for me to show me to see there's nothing. And that was about the time when I was like, okay, I probably got to cool it because I've read too much of this dark genre. But I didn't love the darkness. I really like the whole military tactics type aspects, especially the special forces when you've got a horde of 100,000, mindless things. How do you manage that, right? And we also watched The Walking Dead and all that stuff. But I talked about The Walking Dead with people. It was part of a social water cooler thing. Everybody was watching The Walking Dead. But the books were a guilty pleasure. Very few people, other than this one guy who suggested it to me. That was something like I kind of kept that to myself. It truly was for me a guilty pleasure. Finally, like I said, finally burned out on them. Lots of reasons, and they also became repetitive. Like I think I've literally read every idea. There was I think called X Heroes. I think Peter Klein wrote it about superheroes, made up superheroes, right? Not Marvel or DC, but they had some analogs of those characters in a zombie apocalypse, and what happens when the villains turn into good guys to fight the zombies, and how does the public accept them, and what happens when a superhero gets zombified, and now it's just really interesting stuff. Some cool theories about where the zombie virus came from. Some of the more interesting and also disappointing things was when they would explain it, and you're like, oh, okay, I was kind of hoping for something better. But it was a fun genre while it lasted. There were so many of them. They were dirt cheap. You could usually get them with Unlimited or like for $1.99. I remember buying a paper copy of Day by Day Armageddon, though, at the Book Barn. For the folks that don't know, Vintage Stock is like a massive chain of book video game type stuff that's in the Midwest, massive. But before it was that, it was sort of a separate set of book and video game stores. Some were more book heavy, some were more video game heavy. They were all really, really cool, whether it was called, Caveman or Entertain Mart or the Book Barn, before they all consolidated. I'm coming up with new ones. But yeah, I remember buying a paper version of it there because it had such a cool cover. Seriously, look up the cover for the original Day by Day Armageddon, look at that and say, and you read the back and say, man, that is pretty darn compelling. And I still will hold that up as the best work of that entire genre. It was really well done about an Air Force officer watching the world fall apart around him and how he, makes his breakout. And that's actually a legitimately good book. Being written in first-person journal style does sort of take some of the tension out because every page that they write, they survived that encounter because they're telling you about them, and you see, okay, I got a third of the book left. There, we got some time. But when done cleverly, it's also a really good way to tell a story. But yeah, anyways, that's Mike. I know I talked a lot about it. Have you read anything in this genre, Chris? I know you like post-apocalyptic, but this is super narrow on the post-apocalyptic band.
So no, I haven't. And I have some follow-up questions for you. But first, excellent guilty pleasure choice, because I think one of the criteria we cited was things that we would not expect us to enjoy, and I would not have guessed in a million years that you would have gone down this rabbit hole of zombie fiction. So good on you. But no, I have not read a lot of this, and I will ask a follow-up question because you are well versed in this genre. One of the things that drives me absolutely up the wall about the zombie genre is that almost everything I've been exposed to comes to the conceit of, oh, the humans are worse than the monsters after all. And I find that to be such an annoying trope. Does that carry on through the whole genre, or do we actually get some original thinking?
No, we get some original thinking, and in fact, I would say that trope is, while it does poke its head up in some places, it is not the main driver of any of these series of books that I can think of. Maybe some of the one-offs, but truly. No, they're actually more hopeful. They're more rallying, and humanity deserves to win. And certainly, the humans are part of the threats, right? But no, it's not that sort of preachy, like to them, we're the monsters. That sort of thing, which is always like. I mean, I think a perfect example of that is the wonderful movie, Last Man on Earth, which is a great movie by. I'm talking about the original Vincent Price one, where it just leans so heavily into that in the last 15 minutes that you're like, oh man, come on! It's such a good, poignant story about loss and loneliness and. You got to go to, now he's the weirdo. He's the monster. Come on. Omega Man does this a little bit too, by the way. But it's way more obvious in The Last Man on Earth. But no, I think that the books, for the most part, separated themselves from that. And it's not just I picked them that didn't go down that road, because I'm generally speaking, when I start to read a book, I finish it even if I don't like it. There were some that I didn't like. And that was not a theme that just icked me out on most. There's a couple, but not nearly as bad as movie or TV.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And that would encourage me to maybe read some of these, because that trope just turns me off of zombie stuff. And the two that you cited to bring us into this conversation, 28 Days Later and The Walking Dead, that's why I can't get into either of those, is because they just lean so hard into that trope, and it bugs the crap out of me.
You think 28 Days Later does that? So I would agree in a way that in the most recent film, 28 years later, it does that a lot. And then, of course, the most recent one just came out, Bone Temple, which I haven't watched yet. But I don't know. I didn't feel that way with 28 Days.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that the sequels have doubled down on that a lot more. But the first 28 Days Later, you start off for the first 2/3 of it, and it's this really interesting take on zombies. And it was unlike anything we'd seen in that genre when it came out. And then the last third of the movie, when they find the camp of humans.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think that, but I also attribute that to Danny Boyle's third act problems. Every Danny Boyle movie, maybe not. I can think of. I think Train Spotting does not suffer from this, but so many Danny Boyle movies have third act problems that I've become very forgiving of them because the first two acts are so strong. But yeah, you're right. It does. Oh yeah, it really does. You know what? 28 Weeks Later, which is not a Danny Boyle film, doesn't have that problem quite as much. But the new one, which 28 years later, it's just. It is ingrained in it. It might as well be called, zombies are the good guys years later, right? I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything clever, but it's just too heavy-handed. But no. And listen, I'm not saying any of these things are high works of literature. Some of them are quite poor. Some of them are quite good. The Arisen series is very well constructed and well written by two guys one was a horror writer and one was a military writer who came together to write military horror. And they're, especially the first 6 or 7 books of the series, very well done. Like, extreme detail and geographic areas, and whether it's being made up or not, but they describe it in such a way that you can imagine it, and it seems real. And it's very enjoyable. But I will say, if you decide you're going to dip your toe in this, I think World War Z, it's the OG. It got all of the praise, and it is fairly well written. It's nothing like the movie. They are totally, totally different. The movie's a traditional zombie type movie, and the book is, telling little slices of life stories about the survival of the zombie apocalypse. I don't think that's the one to start with. I think Day by Day Armageddon is the one to start with. It is just so well written, and it takes. It's just well done. It's also a very fast read. I mean, you can tear through it pretty quickly. And I like things that are journal, like the idea of I'm surviving something and I'm writing my opinion on it. It's kind of almost like kind of like The Road by Cormac McCarthy, in that all you know about this world is what the character, your narrator, is what he knows and is willing to express. And that adds, I think, even an extra layer of mystery, because they could be unreliable, they could be missing important details. So I don't know. I'm just saying, Chris, if you decide you're going to give one of these a shot, some of them are just grotesque and disgusting and really unreadable. There's a series that I stopped. It was at the end when I decided to stop all of them. That was just too much. I was like, nope. I was like, there was a zombie attack on a school, and I'm like, ooh, usually, these things are hinted at, but not talked about, most of the ones that I read, that's like, okay, it happens. We know that. This got into it in graphic detail. I'm like, all right, I think I'm done with this and the nightmares. I'm probably done. But if you are going to check one out, or at least read a couple pages from it, Day by Day Armageddon is pretty darn well written. And I believe the author was an Air Force officer who decided to try his hand at it, and the authenticity comes through. He was also bitten by a zombie in real life too, which really comes through.
He knew what he was talking about.
He had a good editor. He could really get the scribbles. But yeah, that's a guilty pleasure. It's a big genre, man. No idea how big that is.
Good. Well, good. I'm going to take the next one from a giant genre to a single work. And I'm excited to present this one, Dave, because I know you have some history with it. And I'm curious if it has aged as well in your mind as it has in mine. But there was a period of time, especially in comic books, where the crossover was the happening thing.
Oh, yeah.
And as a broad rule, I don't like the crossover. I don't want to see Superman and Spider-Man in the same book. Like, I'm not interested in that. I don't want Batman to take on Wolverine. Like, that's not what I'm here to read. Okay. So I typically shun all crossovers, but there was one crossover that was so dumb. And on the surface, I was like, I cannot believe anyone paid someone to write and draw this. And then I read it and I was like, dang, that's surprisingly good. That is.
Oh, I can't wait to hear.
Are you going to guess it?
Can I guess it?
You can guess it.
I'm going to throw out two guesses here, because either Batman Grindel or Batman Judge Dredd, but maybe Batman Predator. I don't know.
It's Batman Predator.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it is Batman versus Predator. Something that should not have happened. They never should have written that book.
That was good, though.
It was good.
It was a great book.
I don't know how they made that good, but the story was compelling. It was interesting. The art was phenomenal in that book. And it's just this one-off prestige format, one shot that DC and Dark Horse did, where they crossed over Batman and Predator. And I don't think that should have worked. I mean, we could wax eloquently about, Batman is this type of character and Predator is the hunter, and they're both, they're two characters from the same coin. And no, that's garbage. They're not. That should not have worked. But it did, and it is a great, great comic book. I should have looked up who wrote it and who illustrated it. I apologize for not doing that, listeners. But go out and find a copy of Batman versus Predator. It is surprisingly good.
I remember enjoying the heck out of it. I didn't think it was as quite of a bad idea as perhaps you did at the time. I think it was, I don't know. And then it became so normalized after that I think we were just expecting those sorts of things. I mean, you did have a Superman Aliens crossover shortly thereafter, which sounds really stupid. And like, oh, he sneezed and they were all dead, and but they had a way to depower him. But I do remember that one being absolutely outstanding. And I also remember around the same time you got Batman Judge Dredd, Judgment on Gotham. And I remember thinking that it was a terrible story, but it had beautiful art. I believe Simon Bisley, who did a lot of Dredd's art. I think he did the whole book. At the very least, he did the cover. But yeah, that was a time when you're right, there was so many of those crossovers, and it was a lot of DC characters, Batman and Superman, particularly crossing over with movies or other other pieces of fiction that were not Marvel. Yeah, because Batman met aliens, Superman met aliens, Batman and Superman met aliens. I'm trying to remember some of the others, but there was a lot of that. Judge Dredd, Grindel, which I thought was a really pretty book because it had that art style by Matt, whoever.
Yes.
Can't remember.
Oh, I almost had it, but I lost it.
It's not Matt Faction. No,
No.
that's yeah. But it had great art, but I never got Grindel, so it was not a character. So it didn't do anything for me.
Same.
But of that era, those were interesting books, and I loved the prestige format. They just were cool books to buy and to hold, and the art popped on them. The text was readable. Layouts were always excellent. No ads.
No, I agree about the prestige format, and what I loved about it is comic books, to their detriment, have this thing where you got to buy the next month's issue. You just got to, because otherwise they don't exist. And so I always loved getting a prestige format. I pay a little bit more for it, but I would know this is going to be a contained story. I'm not going to have to wait 30 days to get the next part of it. So I always appreciated them for that. And, I cannot think of another crossover that I approved of, because all the other ones were just like so stupid and so boring and so illogical. And Batman versus Predator was stupid and illogical, but it worked. And I still don't understand how it worked. I need to look up who wrote that book and see what else.
It's the least illogical of all of them.
Is it?
I think
maybe,
so. I think so. I think you could say you could make that work without breaking lore and continuity on both sides, more so than say, Superman Alien or Superman Predator, even to certainly Superman Predator, or I think also on the Marvel side, I think Spider-Man had a Predator, and I think that one also probably, I didn't read it, but I think that I could see that one working as well.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It maybe not as elevated of a guilty pleasure as the one that you presented to us. It's just one book out of hundreds that I reject outright. But Batman versus Predator, really shockingly good book.
Yes, and the other thing about that is it came out at the time, the prestige format. So many Elseworlds were coming out, and those were almost all prestige format too. So it was a great time to be, collecting comic books. And even if you weren't buying them, even if you were just browsing them, man, they were gorgeous just to look at. And then our library would always get them, and you could check them out and just kind of like, oh, this feels like an actual, it doesn't feel disposable like comic books of that type, of that time did, being printed on such cheap paper. And the prestige format adds a lot to it. But I don't know, that's interesting that you would say that's a guilty pleasure. But and again, this is what makes guilty pleasure so personal, is that
that's just a pleasure in your world.
For the most part. I thought you were going to get into the Marvel DC crossovers, which were a thing for a while, which are not, they're nothing pleasurable
I don't like those
about
either.
those. I mean,
No.
just the heap guilt on those. For shameless extractions of dollars from wallets is more what those are than anything. But yeah, well, all right, ready for me to move on to.
I'm ready.
All right, so this is a silly one, but this is good. I'm going to go back a few years, and this is in the era of. I would say this is a transitional era in terms of my musical tastes, a transitional era in terms of technology as well. The technology doesn't really have a whole lot to do with it other than it just all kind of happened at the same time. So I always think about this. And from tapes to CDs, there was a period of time where I owned more than one Neil Diamond tape. And this is a very guilty pleasure for me then, because I never talked about that, right? All of this era, it was New Kids on the Block, or we were listening to New Kids on the Block was out. I didn't listen to that, but we were listening to U2, we were listening to Weird Al. No guilt there. That was good stuff, even if it was dorky. But I also really liked Neil Diamond. And I remember getting we had a place here where you would trade tapes locally, and I think you'll remember the name of this place, the Jean Shack. Do you remember the Jean
Absolutely.
Shack? It was a place where you could trade jeans, which was a thing, right? Levi's. I mean, I know it's not, people kind of might not get it now, but Levi's were so expensive and lasted so long that people would regularly, buy them used or trade them because, they were just a durable article of clothing that was also easy to wash and maintain. Like, like leather goods almost is what you could, equate Levi's to, and they were timeless, right? But what wasn't timeless were the Neil Diamond tapes that this store also had, and I remember getting a fairly decent number of Neil Diamond tapes. I'm pretty sure that when I did a Columbia House for tapes, which I did one time, I think only one time, I did have a Neil Diamond selection in there, probably like a greatest hits, because it's perfectly fine. Unlike the Doors, which you are not allowed to have a greatest hits compilation for the Doors. That does not make you dramatic. It's actually expected of the Neil Diamond fan to have greatest hits compilations. But yeah, and you know what? If a Neil Diamond song came on right now, I would not turn it off. I would listen to it and be like, yeah, I really enjoy that. It's pleasant, and he seems pleasant, and his Will Ferrell's impersonation of him does not, sully him in any way. I know he's not into, weird pornography or pass out drunk behind the water heater in someone's home. I don't know. I think that his voice is delightful. His music is positive and great, and for years it was a guilty pleasure, and I would not mention it to anyone because I was afraid I would get beat up. I mean, it was just not. I was like, that is so uncool. Have you seen the he wears jumpsuits and he's not Elvis? That's not cool, man. I don't know. It was a very specific era. I'd say it lasted a yearish. And if you said, what's your favorite Neil Diamond song right now, I would say they all sound basically alike. He's got one song that he's, adjusted the melody and the tempo, and that's that's all he's ever really had to have. And I mean that as a compliment, because that one song is great. But I don't know. I'm kind of short selling him and his talent, but that definitely was a period guilty pleasure for me, and I thought it'd just be kind of funny to toss that out. And I believe your dad liked Neil Diamond, if I
of course.
recall correctly. Yeah,
our whole family like Neil Diamond. In fact, I'm letting you off the hook on this. You are not guilty of this pleasure, Dave. I have Neil Diamond records to this day.
Oh,
I mean that, like LP records, and I have CDs, and I have digital files of Neil Diamond's music.
It's entirely possible that I picked up on Neil Diamond because it was not in our house for whatever reason, right? And it just wasn't in our house. We had an Elvis Air Supply house. Elvis is great, Air Supply is not, just to be clear. But I may have heard it over at your house. Like, man, I kind of like that.
He's got a great voice.
He
He's a great songwriter. There's no shame in Neil Diamond. In fact, not I mean, maybe like 6, 7 months ago, I picked up a Blu-ray of Hot August Nights, the famous live concert that he did. Yeah, no guilty pleasure in that. You only brought two guilty pleasures to this podcast, Dave. I'm very upset with you.
Oh, it's guilty. See, again, it's personal. And you know,
All
if I
right.
would have taken that to school and been like, hey,
Well, of
man,
course.
what's in your Walkman? No, it wouldn't have been a Walkman. It would have been like a Kobe, that looks like a dollar store Walkman. What's in
Yeah.
your Sony Kobe, bro? It's like, it's a little Sweet Caroline by
Yeah.
what? And
I
then
know.
I would have been
Yeah.
immediately,
In the world that you and I grew up in, if either of us would have said that, we would have been beaten to death on the playground.
Dwayne would have been acquitted by a jury of other Dwaynes who just said, no, you were.
Well, that's justified killing, man.
Yeah,
He was listening to Neil Diamond. What can you do?
By the way, little Dwayne, is that Optimus Prime still on your front porch getting rained on all the time? And good boy, good kid. Don't ever play with that toy.
No,
that
and
Optimus
don't
Prime.
sell it to people with money who want it.
That's a deep cut
Anyway,
for our long time listeners. But no, guilty pleasure. Nothing wrong with, like I said, if it comes on, I'm not turning it off. But I'm also not seeking it out or putting it in my playlist because then Amazon Music will just batter me with Neil Diamond or things that it thinks are like Neil Diamond, but are not, but are just absolutely awful. I'm sure because Amazon Music is so stupid.
Yeah, in Australia, he's a national treasure, right? Like he's in Australia. Neil Diamond is like the equivalent of Elvis in the States.
I did not. Is he Australian?
Yeah. No, they just
okay.
really like Neil Diamond down there, and so we've scored a bunch of listeners from Australia today. I think so. That's exciting. Yeah.
Well, good day, mates. There's a movie out, right, with him and
Song Sung Blue.
Yeah, and Wolverine's playing him, Hugh Jackman, right?
That's correct. Well, so he's not playing Neil Diamond. He's playing a Neil Diamond impersonator.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
The movie Song Sung Blue is about and it's based on a true story, about a very popular Neil Diamond impersonator duo that then had like drama around them and that kind of stuff. So the movie is not about Neil Diamond, it's Neil Diamond adjacent.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would imagine that the life of a Neil Diamond impersonator would be, high drama, high stress, like, international crime and
of course. Solving art crimes.
Yeah, you would be solving art crime, you'd be helping out Interpol, Stings not Sting the musician, but Sting isn't, or maybe Stings too. Maybe you team up with Interpol to bring down the villainous Sting,
and get Andy Copeland his police royalties back.
Right.
That's
Ironically,
the plot of that film. Yeah.
The police, Sting is the worst offender. So I did not know that. I actually thought it was just another in a string of movies. I thought maybe Timothy Chalamet would show up as Dylan and they would do a song together and he would say, I'm doing some top level Bob Dylaning here.
Yeah.
Wolverine, you can't, you can't Neil Diamond's your way out of this.
Director's like, cut. His name is not Wolverine.
Stop it. Why are you
Neil
Timothy?
Diamond?
You weren't invited. It's not top level. You're not as good as you think you are. Get that stupid Marty Supreme stash off your face.
All right. So next.
I'm sorry to disappoint you with something.
Well,
you see, this is the danger of this topic. It's a minefield.
My final one, and I did not plan the order for these. It just worked out. But my final one is also a music-based guilty pleasure. And if my last one I went like hyper-focused and narrow, this one I'm going super broad because my final guilty pleasure is electronic dance music, EDM. And this goes completely with the, you would not expect me to be totally into this genre, but inside this overweight, bald body is a heart that beats to 4 on the floor. I just can't get enough of electronic music. And I love it. Everything from Pet Shop Boys to Daft Punk to, a bunch of like indie EDM artists that you've never heard of. I listen to this stuff constantly.
Neil Diamond plugged in? Is there a Neil Diamond EDM? I'm sure there's got to be.
I wish there was. I would be all over that. But no, I don't think that's a genre he ever tapped. But I do kind of blame David Bowie for getting me into this because his album Earthling was so like EDM focused.
Sure.
And when I heard that, I was in high school at the time when that album came out, and I heard that, and it just absolutely blew my mind. And so then I started seeking out other things in the genre. So yeah, a lot of people listening to this show probably don't know what I look like. I will say that the cartoon on our thumbnails is pretty accurate. I'm
Spend
dumpy.
time.
I'm bald. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a beard. I am not the kind of person that you would expect to see in the middle of the dance floor on the club in the middle of the night with the neon lights flashing all around me. But again, like I said, in my heart, that's where I want to be.
Well, I knew you had a love of EDM. We did the playlist episode. This came up. I think it is actually a good guilty pleasure choice because I just don't think, and maybe this is more of just like a Southwest Missouri where we live. It's just not a style of music here that gets brought up a lot, right? You could say I'm really into bluegrass, and everyone would be like, "Yeah, that fits." Lots of people are some people are. I know my cousin's into bluegrass. You say I'm really into EDM, and I think half the people are gonna be like, "I don't know what that is." The other half are gonna be like, "Do you take ecstasy and go to rave?"
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I no insults meant by any of that. It's just not particularly well known in our area and in our age group. Like our demo is sort of like you are one of the four EDM in our demo, four EDM heads.
Yeah, that's fair. No, there's a very interesting quote I read once, and you'll appreciate this because it's somebody that you are a big fan of. But at one point in I think the 20 teens, Billy Corgan made the comment that nothing interesting is happening in rock music and all the creativity is happening in electronic dance music. And when he said that, I was like, I don't know if that's true, but the more I've explored the genre outside of just the core ones that I appreciate, I think he's 100% right. Because like all of during the 90s and when we were growing up and we're being really heavily influenced by the music of the time, like creativity was just abound. Like you would hear really unique chord changes and really different melodies and different song structures and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And now rock and pop music are basically just the same four chords on repeat with slightly different lyrics. And all of that creativity has shifted to the electronic genre as opposed to the pop and rock genre. And so I think Corgan was very aware of what was happening in the music industry. And I think about that often because if you listen to electronica, and one of the critiques of it is, well, it all sounds samey. And I completely disagree with that because it only sounds samey on the surface. And if you listen to a track more than one time in the background, like you will start to see, oh, wow, there's really a lot of dynamism and a lot of creativity in that genre of music that used to exist in rock and roll. And I feel like no longer does.
I am familiar with that quote from Corgan, and I think it's an interesting quote. I do think it does have a sort of a samey sense. I mean, right? It's just not. I don't love it. I mean, I love the Bowie album Earthling in spite of that. Well, I don't know, but also his previous electronica efforts are great too, right? He was doing sort of the Kraftwerk inspired electronica in the 70s and the Berlin trilogy in particular, Low, I think, that really comes through. So I think that I would never pick it as a genre of music that I like, but I think a talented musician who steps into that sort of thing can make can make something work with it. Corgan, interestingly enough, it did an electronica forward album. He wouldn't call it electronica, but it was more composed for electronic instruments as opposed to for guitar. And I've read things where he said never done this before. I don't think he's done it really since, but his solo album, The Future Embrace, and it's a very good electronic album. I don't know if you've heard it, or if you haven't heard, or if you've heard it in a while. It is actually worth a listen if you think, okay, I wouldn't mind to give electronic a try, or EDM or whatever, but I would like for I'd like for it to be done by a trusted rock and roll musician. The Future Embraced by Billy Corgan is a good place to start, right? Because you do get the rock musicianship. You can, that DNA is there, but it's done using a different set of instruments and a different style of songwriting. That's generally pretty good. So, but there is an awful lot of it that just sounds to me a bit like the demo mode on a Casio keyboard, and I can't avoid that, right? I can't,
Yeah.
I certainly would that would get old pretty darn quickly.
I don't know. I could listen to the demo mode of Casio keyboard
Really?
for a
All
long
right.
time.
You have a keyboard, right? I know you do, right? What kind of keyboard do you have?
I don't. It's not a keyboard; it's an interface.
It's okay, but it looks like a keyboard. Yeah,
right. So the distinction is it by itself cannot make music, but when I plug it into my computer and feed it through Logic, then I have access to use a keyboard to control all of the digital instruments. So yeah,
samples and whatnot.
Right. And I did at one time have a keyboard and had a lot of fun with it, but for the amount that I do music and for the space in my house that I have, having the interface to the computer just made a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. And what is it, like 20 keys? I mean, it's smaller, right?
No, it's like a 66 key. It's not a full size keyboard, but it's a good size.
I've seen those with those that are really small, right? Where you
like a 12
use the
key,
digital
that's just
stuff
just one octave.
I actually, there you go.
Yeah, I have one of those too. It does not get as much use because it is rather limiting. I mean, there's a button on it where you can switch the octaves.
Yes.
But when you're playing and to switch the octave and play simultaneously, like I'm not.
I can see that being,
yeah. So the 66 key is a good balance between a lot of keys, but not super, full piano size keyboard that takes up a lot of room. So that's what I've got.
So my daughter has she's learning piano, and she got a keyboard from her grandfather who passed away. It's a full 88 key, made for people who want piano, right? But I may challenge her to go in and bang out some EDM for me, so that I can jam, and she'll be like, I don't know what that is, but here's the Peanut song that I'm learning to play. Or right now she's learning, it was so sweet, The Rainbow Connection, which is in singing it.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I love this song, and
that song brings me to tears every time I hear it.
It is. I have written a parody song, a parody version of it that she kind of enjoys about her grandmother trying to give away the china that no one wants. It ends up in the thrift store in the trash. I can't remember. There's a couple different verses, but yes, it's so much fun to watch a kid learn to play music, and those keyboards are so powerful. This is more of a it's a piano, right? And but I do think it would be cool if she gets into it more, like expanding her horizons. And getting her something that can do other instruments or voices or whatever the appropriate term is. But EDM, yeah, I listen. I think, what I think? I think if you lived in a metro area, this would just be a pleasure for you.
Yeah, probably so.
I think Southwest Missouri has.
But I think, it is legitimately a pleasure for me now. And, like we started off saying, like there's no shame in any of those
It just
pleasures.
doesn't.
It just doesn't mesh with the look and the
That's
surroundings
true.
And like that kind of thing.
It's true. You should wear the what is it? The dead mouse or whatever is the giant head. You should just start wearing that around and be like, no,
or
I'm
get
really
one of
the
Daft Punk robot masks.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That would be outstanding.
Yeah. I'm assuming those guys do that because they're always riding around on motorcycles. And they just it can't be troubled to take off their gear.
The history of the band is that there was a horrible accident in the studio one day, and they are legitimate robots now. So,
okay,
yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, it's tongue in cheek because the whole thing is just they didn't want people to know their faces, and they wanted to be able to go out
kind of like the Gorillas,
Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
So, but the lore within the band is there was a lightning strike at the studio and turned them into robots.
Well, that's a good choice, and I think I knew you a little, knowing you, and I knew you have a love for that, and I do think you should talk to your cardiologist about the things going on with your EDM powered heart, because what if you listened to a song that was just a little faster, or you actually played it at double speed or too slow, right? You could pass, and it's a preventable death, Chris.
You're right. I'll talk to my doctor.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm my last one. This is one that was not on my list. And so at dinner last night, I was talking to my wife about this. I had some other choices, and she said, "You know, you should do what I'm about to do." And I stopped, and I was like, "I don't know." I mean, truly, this fits, but it's as a guilty pleasure, but it's different. And I remember I texted you at dinner saying, I got an idea. I didn't tell you what everything, but I said it's a little different. It's going to be off sort of pattern for us. Are you cool with me? You were very gracious and said yes. So this is truly a guilty pleasure that I have, and I am very much into colognes. And I mean, it also extends into like soaps and things like that. But I love colognes. I am a cologne guy, right? And that is a pejorative in many people's eyes. But I am a cologne guy. I love colognes. I love to smell good, even though no one other than my wife smells me. I work from home. I'm not super social. I mean, probably the closest I get to people outside of those in my home are the people I sit by in church. And I don't want to, come in reeking like, Stetson or whatever. Wouldn't wear that anyways. But so I try to I do it in moderation. But I absolutely love colognes, and I love the search for the perfect cologne, the search for a scent that captures my personality. It is a guilty pleasure. I started this during COVID of all times when I wasn't seeing anyone, and I was like, well, okay, well, I want to smell good for me and for my wife then, right? And then I really deeply got into the cologne world, the language of cologne, which is a lot like, I would say, like the language of wine, right? Like a lot of complicated, complex ways to describe like, that smells like a lemon, and it's like, oh, it's got this essence of this, and then this top body, and the middle notes of this, and then a base of like, what? As it starts to dry, it changes its smell. Can we make it a little less complicated? But no, it's an interesting world. It gets a very expensive hobby, but there are ways to make it, to do it on a budget, which is part of the fun, right? And I've turned it into a bit of a game, is maximizing the quality and volume at the lowest possible price point. So that means buying used colognes, buying testers, right? So you go to Kohl's, you see they got 50 colognes, they're testers. A lot of places will sell their testers, especially smaller mom and pop stores. This has become less popular, but it's still, you can buy them on eBay, right? So there's a $200 cologne. You can buy a bottle of it at a period of time. I was able to get a bottle of it that was like 40% full, and I'd pay $20 for it. And this is like really Hermes, like high-end stuff, right? That I would never be able to afford. So there's ways you can do that, and then you look for high-quality clones and dupes. And there are certainly some poor quality ones, but you can go on Reddit and you can read about it. And I've bought some, dupes that smell identical to the original. There is a cologne that I fell in love with at Dillard's, which is not all across the country, but it's in the Midwest and in the South. There's quite a lot of Dillard's. And there's higher end stuff, right? Like a Macy's type thing. And I fell in love with it, and it was $350. Like, well, I will just enjoy it when I come to Dillard's and spray a sample on myself. But I did some research, and I found a $40 dupe that duplicate. I'm using cologne words here. You have to forgive me.
Of course, yes.
A clone that or a knockoff that was like, basically everybody said it's pretty much identical. It's got really good performance. It's hard to tell the difference unless you're just an expert. And so I rolled the dice on a $40, and it is identical. I mean, you cannot tell the difference. The funny thing is once I bought it, I realized it's something that is, expensive and special, that you try to turn it into an everyday wear sort of thing. You get sick of it super fast. Mm-hmm. So it was like, oh, I'll never use all this because, this is something I should probably only wear, once a month. Not that it's particularly strong. It's just not made for everyday wear. But no, I really got into it because I want to smell great. I particularly enjoy unisex smells. I like the fresh or the dry, non-sweet fruit smells, like a dry lime or a dry lemon or a dry orange or orange bitters. I really enjoy those, and I don't know. I've got a huge collection. I had them sorted by time of year. I have my summer scents, my fall scents, my winter scents, and my spring scents, and I've got them sorted right now. I've got my winter scents and all year round scents are out, and then under the sink are where I'm storing my ones that are out of season. I actually went through and made a decision to sell a bunch of them and put them on Facebook Marketplace and sold probably, I don't know, I say 15 bottles, maybe a third of my collection, just because I just had too many. I was never going to use them all, and somebody who was starting a collection. So, in buying used cologne is not looked down upon at all. It's actually a smart way. But this is a guilty pleasure for me because cologne guy, like I said, is pejorative. Not everyone likes it. Not everyone wants to smell it. I actually put more on like at night reliably. I'll wear it so I can wear it to bed. I'll smell good in bed. It makes me feel happy. Like, I don't know. I feel like I sleep better if I'm cleaner.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's definitely not something that people would just would guess that's a thing. And it was not a thing for me before this. I mean, I would occasionally have, a cologne, or oh goodness, I buy a can of Axe. Ugh. But something happened, and I got really into cologne. And I will like if I'm at the store in the cologne aisle, particularly a place like where you can find higher end stuff at good prices, like a Ross or a TJ Maxx or a Marshalls, like. People will, hey, you smell this. What do you think of this? And I'm like, yeah, I like this. It's got this kind of smell. It's good for this time of year. I mean, I actually, know at that level. I read about them, and I own so many. I try not to spend too much money. I do, but I do really enjoy it. It's not something people would know or guess by my personality.
Yeah.
So.
No, I would not have. And my favorite part of the story is how you immediately dismissed Stetson.
Oh, sure.
You've
Yes.
got you've got the snooty element of this guilty pleasure down, and you're like, oh, I would never wear that. That's
Well, it's not that
horrible.
I wouldn't. It's not that I won't wear Walmart things because I do own Walmart scents, but
Sure.
I don't like any of what I would call old man scents. I'm just going to be honest. If it's in the old man range, I do not wear it. I strong preference for unisex scents that are just very clean, regardless of who wears them. I like them to lean masculine. A lot of the unisex scents that I buy, my wife will say like, well, I can see why it's unisex. I wouldn't wear that because it leans masculine, but I see why you would. I own one scent that is it smells like fabric softener. It smells like and it does, and it's kind of it marketed that way, and I've kept it for a couple of years now. I'm very close to running out, and I have to decide whether or not I'll buy it again. And I'm not sure if I will, just because I'll probably switch to something else. But it just is like you do your laundry, you got you put the right kind of snuggle, and then you wear this cologne, and it's just like taking the snuggle to the net. The snuggle bear is now like he's like wearing a tuxedo, right? He's like, I'm the same snuggle bear that you know and love. I'm a little bit more intense, and
cleaned up a little bit. Yeah.
I love that. Yes, I do. I really
that's
love
awesome.
colognes.
Good. Yeah, I find like cultures like that, you mentioned wine and like the whole sommelier thing. Like I love it when people create this whole community around things. Like I find that really fascinating. So I think that's great. I never would have guessed that in a million years that you were into colognes, but good for you.
So I'll say this one thing. I think that everyone. I think certainly I've been chasing is the compliment, right? I don't wear a ton, but I do like, just somebody compliment. I don't get very many of them, But I did a few years back. The pharmacy tech at my local pharmacy said, "What are you wearing? I love that." And I told her, and it was a discontinued one. I said, she goes, "Oh, that's wonderful." I said, "It's discontinued. It's hard to get. You have to probably get it on eBay." Then a week later, I went in to get more prescriptions for family. We really like prescriptions here in this house. She asked me about it again. Oh, you're wearing that same one. It smells so good. And I said, yeah. So next time I came in, I brought her my bottle, and because she's like, my son would love that. I think if I could find a good deal on it, so I just brought it to her. It was like halfway full. I was like, here you go. I've got a lot of cologne. I did. I said, here you go. You take it. She was very thankful, but I loved the compliment so much that I wanted just to give it to her. This older lady with a son that she thought would enjoy this cologne, and I hope that he did. Incidentally, they brought the cologne back. And I did buy a bottle for myself and my son. And this was a Bath and Body Works cologne, which I don't own a lot of the Bath and Body Works stuff because it's usually not very good. It has a certain smell that they all kind of smell alike. But this was a really unique one that was it had eucalyptus and mint in it, and it was very eucalyptusy and minty and super clean, like. I would describe it less like a cologne and more like just getting out of a shower where you use tea tree shampoo, like that sort of thing. Super clean. And so I bought myself and him a bottle of it. It came back briefly, and I absolutely love it. But I'm not real big on, just for those out there, if you're wanting to learn about colognes, figure out, like, go to the stores, go to good stores and smell things. And I say go to good stores, I mean like Ulta and Sephora. Smell things, figure out what you like, and then go research good duplicates, good colognes. You can find those by going onto Reddit and just saying cologne name, duplicates, for example, I was looking for the duplicate for Perfumes de Marly. Which one did I like? Perseus. So I found it. Perfumes de Marly Perseus. This $350 cologne is a $40 cologne exists under the name French Avenue Pierce. And even the bottle looks similar. It's got a similar color scheme and some of the similar design notes. It's letting you know, hey, I am a clone of this. And I found it with research and with Reddit's help. And then there's another brand that Walmart sells called Dossier, which is a cologne. They do are duplicates. They have a handful of original scents, but duplicates. They are outstanding duplicates. They smell within 90% of the original. They don't have great longevity, but they do have a really good scent. And if you have to spray it an extra time, right, to save $100. Because these are like 30 and most of the originals are between 100 and 200. It's totally fine. It's totally worth it. And so you don't feel bad at all about buying stuff at like Walmart or anything, or whatever, TJ Maxx or any of those places. But do feel bad about buying Axe or Bodman because those are just kind of stinky. And then also another key to making, this is one last tip. Now, the key to making your cologne work is make sure that you get a deodorant that either complements it, enhances it, or at the very least is neutral to it. You do not want to get one that clashes or that overrides, because it can totally change the nature of a cologne. There's a really great inexpensive cologne called Nautica Voyage. It's inexpensive, and it's got citrus and apple. And if you wear a citrus forward deodorant with it, it smells super citrusy. You smell an apple forward deodorant. You wear an apple forward deodorant with it, you smell very appley. And either way is fine. You should just be aware, or you can buy like a more neutral one, either an unscented one or something with a super light scent. And then you're going to get more of the original scent of the sort of the mix with the apple forward. And this is all Walmart stuff, right? Nautica Voyage is but if you Google it and do some research on it, people who are really into colognes will say, everybody who likes cologne should have a bottle of this because it's good, inexpensive, and it's inoffensive. It's great for everyday wear. People will not get sick of it. You will not get sick of it. So you can tell, Chris, you probably can tell, like,
Yeah.
I'm deeply passionate about this stupid subject. But yeah, here's the funny thing though, is like, I don't like scented candles, and I don't even really love air fresheners either. So it's like, I was really, it's about colognes. And of course I do the same with my wife and perfumes. I, buy her research and, yeah. So, wow. Oh my
Well,
gosh. Talk about a guilty pleasure. I feel guilty just talking about it.
I think the point of this podcast is to be super passionate about nerdy things. So
Yes.
you're right on brand. It's great. No, I love it. I love that story. I found it fascinating to listen to you talk about it, to see your excitement and your passion for it. So that's fantastic. And it made me think of some of the things that I did not bring to this conversation. So maybe we'll have to revisit this topic down the road.
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, we could have talked about the stuff I skipped. We could have talked about reality TV.
Of course.
A lot of the colognes I drink, and no, I'm just kidding. Very toxic, but they are delicious.
You taste and then you spit, right? That's how you do it. That's
No.
the
I just
proper way.
straight up ingest these.
Don't disclaimer to listeners:
Disclaimer:
do not ingest
do
cologne.
this. Do not ingest cologne. I guess essential oils could be, but.
Oh, no, I don't think you're supposed to ingest those either.
All
But
right.
what you should do, instead of ingesting all these toxic substances, is you should tell us what your guilty pleasures are. Because I bet as you were listening to this, you thought of a million things that you do and that you're super passionate about. And it would be great to share some of these things. And if you want to send them to us, you can even say in the text, don't read this one on air, and we'll respect that. But I think it would be super cool to share some of the guilty pleasures that our audience has, and just all of the wonderful, fun things that make us individuals unique and part of the broader human race. I think that's a beautiful thing.
I am a mandatory reporter, so if your guilty pleasure is like burning down convenience stores, I do have to report that to the authorities. So
that's fair.
You might want to,
even if you specify in the text, please don't report this to the authorities. We have to.
Are you a cop?
It's the law.
Because if you ask that question, they have to answer.
Well, Dave, tell them where they can send all this information that could come back to haunt them in a court of law.
Oh, goodness. Well, we are all over this new thing called the internet, and we recently plugged into. We got our faces on the Facebook. Yeah, we're all over the place, folks. I'm just kidding. You can find us at www.middleagedguys.com. I got our URL right. For a moment, I had a moment of doubt that I've said it wrong. And then that is our main website. You can do everything from there. Look at it, find old episodes, some old writing I used to do. I haven't written anything in a while. I've got a couple ideas. I was thinking about doing something on cologne, but it has gushed all that here. You can reach out to us through email and look at things like show notes if you're curious about something. We occasionally will have those up there. You can also find us on all your podcasting platforms. Apple, Spotify. You got to it somehow from here. If you're listening anywhere where you find podcasts convenient, we are there, including YouTube. So check us out. Wherever you find us, please subscribe. And we're also on Facebook. So if you just go to the Facebook search bar, Two Middle-Aged Guys, you start to type that in, you will find us. You'll see the little black and white cartoon pictures, and you'll know that is us. Leave a comment, send us a note. We will read it on air, or we will choose not. Well, we will not read it on air if you say please don't, or if you confess to something that we need to make sure that it doesn't go. It'll just be between us.
Exactly right.
We would love to hear from you, dear listener. If you're into colognes, give me a suggestion. I would love to hear a listener suggestion. Don't make it some sort of joke that's going to make me smell bad. That would be uncool. I'm being sincere. I do really like those. So we want to hear from you. But Chris, I would say, now that our listeners, they know where to find us, what did we learn today? What sort of lesson did we get? What did we figure out today?
I don't know about you, but I think I figured out it's okay to like things. And I think that it's as simple as that. It's okay to like things.
I think that what we consider guilty pleasures and the things that we keep to ourselves might actually be more just like quirky parts of our personality. We should be more willing to share them. I'm going to start by spraying cologne into the face of the first person I see. And that'll
Yeah.
really ingratiate them to me and to my hobby. And then we'll become best friends forever. So I think I'll go something like that.
I will play EDM from my phone with no headphones everywhere I go, so that people
Yes.
can enjoy it along
Oh, I
with me.
love that at Walmart when somebody is walking around listening to music on their phone, just through the speaker on their phone. That is talk about a guilty pleasure. Oh, I love that so much. Sometimes I get so into it, I slap the phone out of their hand and I stomp on it I'm just keeping the beat, man. It's toe tapper.
Just to show how much you appreciate. Yeah,
Just show how much I appreciate that.
absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
that sort of crime. You should go to The Hague and be put on trial for that sort of crime. That's a crime against humanity.
Agreed. Well,
Goodness.
Dave, stay warm.
Yes.
Enjoy all the guilty pleasures, and we'll see all of y'all next time.
All right.